Alright people, it is Monday, May the 29th. Time is 8:18 in the evening. And it's currently 24 degrees Celsius. And I'm at the corner of Richmond Street West and University Avenue. And I'm going to be continuing west along Richmond Street. And I'm going to make my way over to Wellington Street eventually to take a look at those brand new bike lanes which I think are complete now. I've showed them a couple other times in previous videos when they were still under construction. So I thought I'd take a look at the finished product. And on the way, I thought I'd walk along a couple of other streets that have bike lanes, such as here on Richmond Street. And also I'll check out a bit of Adelaide Street and Spadina Avenue. So this will be kind of like a examination of the evolution of bike lane development in downtown Toronto. We'll see how bike lanes have evolved and improved over time in the city. And you can see here on Simcoe Street there are also some bike lanes which are separated, semi-protected. And here on Richmond Street there's also a separated, protected bike lane. So this was considered quite a big deal when these bike lanes first opened up. Because previously many bike lanes around the city were merely painted lines on the side of the street with no barrier separating the bike lane from the traffic. And I believe those got to be known as sharrows. And I think some of those are still in place on Spadina Avenue. And while these are quite sufficient by most people's expectations if you're cycling around the city, I think it's safe to say that the brand new lanes on Wellington Street that we'll be getting to later are probably the best ones we've seen yet. This one is a one-way bike lane because Richmond Street is also one-way here. And it's quite wide, so easy to pass slower moving cyclists if need be. There's some Duncan Street. So these ones are quite well used. Those sirens really echo big time walking through these high-rise areas. And these ones also provide a pretty substantial protection from the traffic with these very sturdy dividers here. And I think Adelaide Street has a similar setup going in the opposite direction, another one-way. And we'll be seeing that in just a few minutes. But there are some stretches where there are no more dividers, and it's merely just lines painted on the street. Crossing John Street. And you'll often find cars pulling into the bike lane, such as right up ahead, when there's no divider separating the bike lane from the traffic. That kind of thing happens on a constant basis. And from what I saw in some photos, the new bike lanes in Wellington not only are protected with a barrier, but those ones are also two-way bike lanes. It's starting to get a bit dark already. Sunset is approaching. So hopefully by the time we get to Wellington Street, we'll be able to get a good enough look at the new lanes. Crossing Peter Street. This one also has some bike lanes, as you can see. Mostly just painted lines on the street, I should say. So as I was saying, before proper bike lanes started appearing, that was what you saw more often than not around the city. I'm kind of speed walking now. It's become a game of beat the sunset. But I couldn't really get out any earlier than this today. Spadina. So these ones are sort of like the worst case scenario. Not even a proper line is painted, it's just a little outline of a bicycle with some arrows on the side of the street, basically. Those are the ones referred to as sharrows.
Today, I reckon.
And as you can see, there's still parking here, even though it's clearly marked as the bike sharrow area. It's pretty much just a meaningless gesture, really. If parking is allowed, it might as well not even be there, in my opinion. You can see another car parked up ahead. But still no shortage of cyclists on the street. Even before bike lanes started appearing around the city, there were always lots of cyclists on the streets of Toronto. All right, here's Adelaide. I'm just going to cross to the other side. And this setup is similar to what we saw on Richmond Street. Although there's no physical divider on this section.
So late, and I'm like, Elspeth, are you?
But it's definitely a bit better than what you saw on Spadina Avenue. Parking is not allowed here. And there's a pretty large gap painted into the street separating the bike lane from the traffic. But I think some sections of Adelaide do have the dividers like we saw in Richmond Street. I'm not sure if these dividers were in the street and they've just been temporarily moved up here, waiting to be put back in place, perhaps. Because there was work undergoing along Adelaide Street, so I think they did have to kind of move things out of the way. Well, they did that work, and hopefully things will be put back to their proper place. And here's Brant Street. And I can see another bike lane painted along Brant Street. One of them is sharing the traffic, and the other one is got its own painted space on the side of the street, depending on which way you're going. It would be funny if some cyclists took it upon themselves to come and lift those massive cement blocks up and place them back where they belong. Probably take several big strong people just to lift one of those things, if it was even possible at all. Here you can see they are back where they should be.
We are just using what's left over.
And I think we're about to come upon Portland Street, so that's where I'll be heading south down to Wellington. We'll get a look at those brand new snazzy bike lanes. I used to be quite an avid cyclist at one time, but I've been definitely more of a walker in recent years. But I'm sure I'll get back to cycling again one day, and it'll be nice to have all these new lanes waiting for me. So here's Portland Street. No bike lane here. This is a fairly busy strip also for bars and nightlife. Someone spray painted F Toronto on top of Lucy's face, but then I see someone scratched out or covered up the F part, so now Lucy just says Toronto on her chin. Alright, here is King and Portland. This is where all the nightlife happens. 504 King streetcar. Pretty lively even for a Monday night. And the next street is Wellington. I already saw one cyclist just pass by. And there you can see the bike lane heading all the way over to at least Bathurst Street. I'm not sure how far it goes in that direction, but as you can see, it's protected by a concrete barrier, and there's one lane in each direction. We'll be walking along this stretch here. Get a good look at the new bike lane. Look at that, isn't that nice? Of course, we're going to have a bit of a separation between us and the lane as we walk on the sidewalk over here.
No, that's mortgage. That's mortgage. Yeah. Well, it seems like.
Better look over here. So this is brand spanking new. And still plenty of room for vehicles with two good sized lanes over there. So I'm sure over time these will be put to good use once people figure out that they're here. Maybe I can walk right along the barrier. They're fairly high. They're higher than a regular curb anyway. You have to have quite the jacked up vehicle to pass over these without scraping the bottom of your car all to hell. Time I just jumped over the gap. Ah, finally I see a cyclist coming. Just walking past the well development here. So this is the latest step in the evolution of Toronto's downtown bike lane network anyway. Going from the god-awful Sharrows to a more proper but still painted bike lane to one with an actual barrier that sometimes is in place and sometimes not, to a very, very well-designed bike lane here. Maybe this will be the standard from this point heading forward. Somehow I doubt it, but we can always hope. And now we're back on Spadina, where we can get another look at the Sharrows. Where would you rather cycle if you had a choice? I think I know where I would rather bike. I'm just talking now to talk over the Muzak there. Well, it's starting to get darker now. Sunset is literally upon us.
I'm like, put it like crossing Spadina at King. And no bike lane to be found on King Street. No, these are.
King Street does have these little street side patios set up all along the street though, so that probably is the main reason. At least on this side of the street. So I'm going to start wrapping things up here. I hope you enjoyed the sort of walk through the evolution of Toronto's downtown bike path network, where we saw several different stages in the development of the network. And those new bike lanes on Wellington to show the latest and greatest we've seen so far. So leave a comment down below if you enjoyed the walk, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also be sure to hit that notification bell, that way you won't miss any of my videos. And if you'd like to support the channel, there are links in the description where you can do so via PayPal, as well as via my merch store. And there's also a super thanks button right down below if you'd like to support the channel that way. And you can also find me on Instagram under KContinuum. So thanks for watching, and be sure to keep checking back because, as always, I will continue.